Hello and welcome to the first discussion of Song of the Mysteries, which is the last book of The Wars of Light and Shadow by Janny Wurts. I have my bare hardback here. We're really excited to have gotten to this book. We've been working our way through the series for the last 2.5-ish years or so. It's been a journey. I cannot believe we are here. And yeah, book 11 of an 11 book series. It's quite brilliant. Anyway, we are going to continue our format of reading a little over 100 pages every couple of weeks. Today's chapters are 1 to 3, and I think the chapters are pretty much evenly sized, and there are 18 chapters. It's a nice factor of 3. Factor, yeah, I guess that's the word. Multiple, not factor.
I didn't want to start on a correcting your maths thing, but go ahead.
That I would have appreciated. But yes, that's all. So yeah, check this out every 2 weeks if you're reading along with us. And again, these discussions are open to anybody interested, so please join us if you are about where we are in the series. With me, of course, we have the usual group of friends. And could you please introduce yourself, Chris, starting with, and we'll go clockwise. Wow, did I shock you? Yes, I did. Did I not?
I was just about to check out for about 30 seconds. My name is Chris from the Chronicle of Chris YouTube channel, and from such fine podcasts such as Speculative Speculations and the Oscars Project, and from Janny around phtune.com. Jared.
Yeah, and you can find me in those two places, as well as on the Fantasy Thinker YouTube channel. And don't believe Chris, he never checks out. So, Chibi.
Yes, I'm Chibi. You can find me here every 2 weeks or so, and lurking a lot. And yeah, I'm glad to be here. This is awesome.
Very nice. So the opening chapter. I think we talked before about a Fugitive Prince. I think it was Fugitive Prince with Fiona at its birth scene, right? And I think it was you, Chris, talking about how only Janny can pull that off and make for gripping storytelling. So this first chapter was basically Arathon descending a huge flight of stairs, right? The first section of this chapter. Gripping storytelling. Let's go.
Yeah, lots of discussion
Chris, you're muted.
around Arathon's recovery.
Yeah.
and it's we get it gives us the 1 year later kind of advancement of time, which was interesting. That means he's been recovering. It took him that long to recover from the momentous events at the end of Destiny's conflict there, and what was the title of the chapter is Estrangement, and boy does that happen. Arathon flatly states, I don't trust the sorcerers, and I don't trust you, my true love of my life. And I'm like, ouch. And he leaves.
Later.
Yeah.
No matter how badly he was walking, he still leaves.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that Varsha brought up Fiona Arth there at the start, because he's very much channeling Fiona Arth's bitchiness and petulance. It's probably a much better word to use than right through these first couple of chapters in this kind of trying to just not be bothered with other people. He's going to do what he thinks in his own way and be damned with whatever everybody else wants to do. And it's kind of interesting to see how everybody else navigates their way around him. Even literally, as you say, Jared, when he's literally crawling out the door to not stand in his way, let him cross the threshold and not sort of be at a hindrance to him, because they don't want to spark him. They're very worried about kind of setting off the time bomb or lighting the fuse of Arathon himself.
Yeah, even the sorcerers aren't like, whoa, and they're hands off, and they're like Ascendair is going to get Terrans. Hey, dude, you gotta help your lead, Joe, because he's not letting us in on it.
Yeah. But before all that, he meets the oldest crone of the Bidar in his dreams, and she says a few cryptic things.
Hmm.
She says a few things over these course of these 3 chapters, Varsha, that you might not know about. There's a pretty
Yeah,
she's making every turn.
I was halfway through the return chapter.
Not to call you out, but the crone kind of asserting her, what would say, call or call over Arathon and the events of Arathon's life here.
Ancient claim. That's what it's called.
Yes, that's the word that I was looking for. Thank you, Jared. Yes, so I for one was really happy to see, because she's been sort of shrouded in mystery, I think, up to this point, and a lot of it we've got to see a bit of her. We've seen where her allegiances or interests certainly lie in terms of like her influence around Delura and sort of within Arathon, but actually seeing that develop and actually what way it develops, especially when you see how she interacts with Sephir later on, I think it kind of gives you a real new perspective, I think, on all of the different parts go and play. And I think that's definitely a theme of these first 3 chapters, is the kind of setting up the lineage and the dynasty of, say, the Coriathian, the Fellowship, the Humanity, and the Bidar, etc. And kind of reminding you, as Janny often does throughout these old books, reminding you kind of where you are before we get into the rest of the story. She kind of sets the tone a little bit, and she's done that continually throughout the series, and it's something that I think it works really well within the series, because she kind of just drops these bits in just to keep you right as where you're going. But yeah, very much enjoyed that.
Yep.
Very cool.
In terms of being reminded about things, we also got I think this might be the most times we've heard about the fact that Arathon gets really pokey when he's protecting some vulnerability or some awful thing that he's planning to do. And I think it was mostly implied in the last few books, but now all the characters seem to be aware of it and have developed the knowledge alongside the readers, or we've developed it alongside them, I suppose. And yeah, so I guess the explanation for his behavior, like, we keep getting reminded of that. And it also serves as a way to build tension about what it is he's going to do. We have Terrence wake up in the middle of a conversation he has with Davian, where seemed to be arguing about something, or I wasn't super clear on that. But Arathon's out to do something that the Fellowship both want him to do, but are super apprehensive that he might do bad things to get there. I think that's sort of the gist of it all.
Yeah, even Davian gets involved with Arathon's flight,
Mhm.
and he brings up when like you said, Taran was facing off with Davian. He even brings up Camridian's tragic end from the maze there, whatever it is.
Kivor.
Yeah, Kiwar. Yeah,
Kiwar.
and so he's. I'm still not sure. I'm not sure what Davian's point is at bringing that up with Terrans, and I'm still not sure. I'm still not sure of where Davian stands with everything.
Well,
after all this time, I'm just like, he's helping, kind of, sort of helping, but
yeah, he's towing a line, isn't he?
Yeah.
Jared, because
Yeah.
he kind of alludes to the fact that when he's talking about Terrence a few times, like, I could do more here, but I've got to be careful because Sephir is watching me as much as he's watching Arathon, which I think is really interesting dynamic.
Yeah. So that brought up some questions when that happened,
Mm.
because I was just like, oh man, when are we gonna find out? Because there's Arathon's end game.
Mm.
We got to find out what he's after. There's the Fellowship's end game. And we all know that part of their end games is, of course, to defeat ultimately the Mist Wraith and
Yeah,
free,
yeah.
and bring back the Paravians, and but they all have different motivations, I think, for that end game, or just different methods that they have disagreements about how to get to that.
Yeah.
And so I want to find out what Davian's is, and even the Bidar Witch and all these different players involved. It's just it's really it's the last book.
The last book, not the last before the last, but the actual last.
we're past that stage of our lives, Varsha. That's
No,
in
Chris,
the past.
we got to be reminded of the awesome way in which I say, but not do it.
Yes.
That reminded me of something I wanted to discuss. Like, we know that at least one of the things that Arathon is wanting to do, or maybe that is his end goal, but the path to getting there is what's making everyone apprehensive, is to reconfigure the resonance so that the Paravians can reproduce again. And that we someone, I forget who, I guess it was Dakar, listed all the things that need to get done in order for that to happen. And I guess it's basically moving humans around quite a bit against what they may be willing to do at this point. So I was curious why this wasn't something the Fellowship sorcerers could do themselves. And I think I kind of sort of have an answer. I guess because humans are involved, they would interfere with free will if they get moved around, if they force them to move. But on the other hand, what they are doing also interferes with the compact in that it's hurting Paravian survival. So far it seems to be either or, right? Like, all humanity goes when the Fellowship interferes to withhold to uphold the compact, or they just steer completely clear and let humans do their thing. I mean, they have interfered in some ways at other points when the compact was in threat. So like, why is this something that the Fellowship sorcerers can't do? I know they clearly, I think, have the power to do it, but what part of the law, the compact law, or charter law, whatever it is, prevents them from doing it? Do we know?
It's a very good question. I think most of my answers were kind of postulating kind of on that. For instance, like the reintroduction of Salatus, who was living with the Paravians recently, because before that, didn't know where the Paravians were. Even the Fellowship didn't seem to know where the Paravians had gone or anything like that, whereas Salatus was actually there. And he's obviously, in this kind of 1 year later, he's been existing with Sethir and the rest of them, and I'm sure sort of influence on that. So for me, it was an awful lot of kind of taking a good stab or good guess at what it is, but it does sort of reinforce to me that humanity and Fellowship interests are very often, they're just not aligned in the way that you classically would think. I found myself sort of battling against conventions of fantasy books a little bit when I was reading the start of this, because Fellowship, good guys in the sense, think in most books they're good guys for humanity, but that's not really their aim. That is really not what they're about. And actually, humanity's sort of getting in the way a little bit. There is a certain point where Paravians and humanity cannot coexist at the same time. So whereas Coriathian are very much more about the humanity angle and kind of where they're trying to uphold. So this kind of, it's like a push and pull, and even Arthur, to a certain point, trying to further the Paravian cause is something that the Fellowship want to support, as you sort of rightly say, Portia. And so in some ways don't want to interfere with Arthur either, because he can kind of do it in his own way, which again brings into the Bidar. What do the Bidar want and all of that kind of stuff? That conversation comes further on, and you're kind of going, right, there's an awful lot of push and pull mechanics within all of the very powerful factions within this world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And everybody's steering clear of the Bidar. I guess if we haven't had a dragon POV yet, but I bet they'd be afraid of the Bidar too. The parade. I mean, like Shihane Altain apparently was like, he may not even have the power to tell the Bidar crew that she can't come in. Sorry, Chris, what were you saying?
I was going to say the dragons are the other one, because obviously events happen
Mhm.
with the dragons as we get along, but everybody's like, to me, just seems terrified of this Thrial, your best friend, Varsha. You know, so your namesake, your first child will probably be
I got
named such.
I got a new one, bro. I got Sheezy Mag.
Yeah, I just call them Charizard from Pokemon at a certain point. That was sort of where my brain went to at that stage. But yes, it's mentioned numerous times throughout these 3 chapters that Crucial is still slumbering. Still, everybody's like, "Don't go near the damn dragon."
Yeah.
Holy, yeah.
And every news item we're getting a check-in to where he is in his
Still
hibernation.
asleep. He opened one eyelid for a second, but I think it was just an involuntary reaction. Yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
REM movement.
Yeah. deep sleep
Yeah,
getting
it's the
his,
Crucial Fitbit is telling me that the sleep patterns are still in the
Yeah.
REM state. Yeah.
the fellowship sorcerers are the dragons ordering apparently. What was I going to say?
What?
Damn, I forgot. Go ahead, Jared.
I was gonna say, R.I.P. Seamus Darizog.
Ooh, you said it. You said the word. Say it again 4 more times, and maybe I'll get it.
Seamus Darizog.
Nice.
I think
Very nice.
That's a flex.
Yeah, it helps when I had the glossary open reading it.
You've been practicing. This is one of the reasons it's good to finish reading your chapters early. You can have 3 or 4 days to practice that sort of shit, you know.
I have a challenge for you now.
Oh boy.
Now, give us the correct pronunciation for successor.
Successor.
Yes.
Oh, his successor.
Yes. He named 2 Asandir.
Oh, that's right. I don't remember. I don't remember at all.
Well,
that's a tall order, trivia.
So I can expound on the fellowship thing if you'd like. I may go on for a while though.
Please do.
Okay, so we know that humanity arrived, some 5,000-ish years ago, almost 6,000 at this point, closing in on it, and they came to an arrangement. The fellowship, brokered the arrangement between the Paravians, with the Paravians, and and the Dragon Protectorate, as we're learning about them now, concerning the terms under which humanity could reside on Ethera. And this includes where they could stay and what places are forbidden to them. And within that structure, we have people living in towns. They do whatever they want, basically, as long as they don't violate certain. They're allowed to set up in those places. They can build structures. They, govern themselves as long as they don't violate certain rules like slavery and things like that.
Gunpowder.
Yeah.
And then we have those that became known as Clanborn, who would patrol the free wilds, and they actually lived in the towns at the times too, and helped make sure that the people living in the towns didn't stray into places that were dangerous to them. Because as we've seen, even if you roll up to Unicorn, and if you're not able to endure its presence, then you're probably just your heart's gonna stop from just how awesome it is.
Yeah, and we saw a big example of that in the Gallon, right?
Yeah.
Just not even being like rolling up and having one right in front of you, just them passing by.
Yeah.
They passed too close.
And And like with Kung Fu Panda, there is a charge for awesomeness.
Yeah. And then, if humanity, and then and then we had the High Kings, for the Five Kingdoms, and if the townsfolk needed to talk to, or wanted to make, adjustments or anything to the to where they were living, or had issues, then the kings basically, they didn't rule over the townsfolk, but they were the intermediaries, right? So if the townsfolk were like, hey, we want to expand here, it would be the High King who would have to go and plead the case with the Pravians. And then above that, we had the Fellowship, where if humanity started doing things, breaking, agreements, then the Fellowship would have to step in. Which led to issues like the people getting sent through Southgate, and what, so forth, right? And like we saw in Ships of Marior, where they're like, yeah, this is prescribed, you can't do this. So, those are things that they would come out and do, along with their other stuff that they're handling and keeping under wraps. Which a lot of what they're doing, for that is because the Pravians aren't here right now, because that was stuff that the Pravians kept in order. And but within that structure of the compact, they're very specifically limited. They don't, on what they're supposed to do. They don't intrude, or lay down, edicts to anybody unless those, things are violated. And so what they've ended up doing since the Pravians departed was basically trying to thread a needle and keep a stopgap measure to where things don't get any worse, as far as the planet's resonance, but it's not necessarily getting any better, in the hopes that they could get, work out a solution, because they kept things to a certain point, then it was okay. So they're kind of, I almost want to say, in some respects, we're kind of splitting hairs on, some things in a similar way that Celadie / Moriel like to do, and how she creatively interpreted Coriani, the Coriani oaths and the things that they're weren't supposed to do, or how she interpreted oaths she swore, like Janny mentioned last time when we were talking about, the whole oath she swore over that. She's like, it's like, well, technically, she didn't, compel Elara to, where she just violated the spirit of it, while adhering to the letter. She's like, well, I didn't make Elara do anything. I just threatened Elara's life. Whereas all the spirits inside the Waystone are like, we are highly skeptical of this. You go to jail. Do not pass go. So in a lot of ways, it's, they're trying to thread that needle, because if they adhere to what they're strictly supposed to, what they're supposed to have done in this situation, they would have rousted out. Their required method of rousting out the squatters at Atara, as we find out, as it started as a little squatters, hovel, would have been to wipe them all out.
Who, the Fellowship?
Yeah.
That's harsh.
Because under the terms of the compact, if humanity starts doing things that threatens the greater resonance of the world, and therefore Paravian survival, the Fellowship's job is to be like, yeah, no, you all die. You are expunged from the world.
And
so they're creatively, interpreting what they can, how that does, because I'm sure they could have been like, yeah, we're going to throw you, try avoiding to slaughter you, and instead throw you through, a gate. But we saw, what the end result of that was. Um,
Which
so,
was what? What was the end result?
the Mist Wraith.
Oh, I see. Oh, wait. So the Mistwraith was born of the was a product of the people who had been sent to Southgate as punishment, and then the Mistwraith happened. Is that true?
Okay, so little more background on this.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a combination of some Coriani and necromancer types who wanted to dabble, uh, and they were cast out of the compact. And rather than kill them, this group, they wanted to pursue this stuff. They were banished through Southgate, and through its splinter world beyond to Merak. Merak is a much lower resonance world where their magical abilities would not work. And so it was assumed that sending them there would curtail their ability to, further pursue those things. But instead, they developed technology and pursued, those goals anyway, and started, messing with, the human spirit and the soul and whatnot, and it kind of got out of control.
Interesting.
And then it ate everybody, and that's we got the Mist Wraith.
So something. Okay, I have a few questions. One is the resonance of the planet. Was that ruined by the Mistwraith plus the disappearance of the Paravians, or the slow infiltration of humanity into the free wilds?
A combination of things. The Mist Wraith's presence affected it, because one of the things that can affect it, and because we see it like with actualized Paravian, is it's kind of like just tapping into the imagination almost. So, like the collective fears and whatnot of humanity can affect it, and then the Mist Wraith, which is just a big conglomeration of spirits that are all bound up and tangled together, full of hate and malice. That's going to affect it, and then the Paravians, and that in return affects the Paravians because they need a certain level of resonance to survive. And so they departed to their stronghold on the island, and then Kiladis set up his working to raise the resonance there sufficient to the degree that they could all survive.
Okay,
And
and now they can only survive but not reproduce. Where in Kiladis's pocket?
Yeah, they were able to survive, but they couldn't reproduce, and that's where Erethan's goal is to elevate the resonance, the overall resonance, to where they'd be able to do so again, which the a lot of Rathane was basically forbidden territory, like the entire kingdom, because the unicorns Dion Ramon was basically their breeding ground, and that's a huge chunk of it.
Right. And so Arathon's going to do this. He's going to do it his way or the highway.
Pretty much. And also bear in mind too, with the conversation with the crone, she outright tells him that Celody kept that even though Alari's crystals got wiped and the Fellowship defeated her, Celody kept records of that. So Lorinda now or will have gain access to strike at Alara. So and we know how Erethan is about he's probably going to go after the Coriani at some point, and he's just like, yeah, no, I'm push people away because I don't want them anywhere, in danger, whether they like it or not.
Whether he needs it or not. So cool. And of course, we know that some of the dragons disagree with our favorite dragons, and of course, we get this awesome dragon duel, which was really cool. That was like my favorite part of the whole 3 chapters was that dragon duel in the sky between
Nice.
Shemi.
Yeah. And Arathon, the levels of indirection we got into how we saw that dragon duel, that was pretty cool. Arathon through Sethvir's Earth sense, watching a duel that was happening on another planet.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
So the crone says elder powers are involved, and we meet said elder powers. I guess they are fighting over the compact. Do we know why this is a thing now? Is it because the dragon whose name Jared knows how to pronounce is about to retire? And so and so the successors are trying to be ones who don't like the dragon protectorate thing. So what is it they did not like? The Paravians or the humanity's presence? The humanity presence, right?
Well, so the Dragon Protectorate, and some of this will come up later, but basically, you have the Dragon Protectorate who approve of the Paravians and want them to survive and everything. Basically, you have 2 factions of dragons. One faction, likes the Paravians and accepted, restraints on their, on what their own behavior as a result. And then the other faction's like, yeah, no, we're going to do what we want, dream what we want, trash what we want, and you can't nobody stop us. And
I see. So it's not even just human presence; it's the Paravians themselves that they object to because it prevents them from
and the restraints on their behavior, because
yeah,
as I think it's mentioned when Asandir is watching, where he talks about how the dragons basically did whatever they want, and a couple of them, flights warring against each other, destroyed Kefter, and just remade everything. They just want to, do what they want without any constrictions, constraint upon their behavior.
Yeah.
Because, they can remake reality at a whim. So, why wouldn't they? Why do we bother with these, beings that may not even be real, because we can remake reality at a whim. So we could just, these are just figments of some other dragon's imagination, maybe. Who knows?
seems reasonable. Yeah. Ooh, I like that. Oh, so Ath is just a giant dreaming dragon, who has power over all the other dragons. Anyway, what else? Ilera learning from Kilidis. Also, Kilidis is my new favorite fellowship sorcerer for sure. It was set way briefly with the spiders, but with the birds around him, oh my god, I'm getting total Cinderella vibes.
It's birds not around. Maybe that was Cinderella. I was thinking that was Snow White, but I think it might be all Disney princesses from that time. Yeah.
Yeah, whichever princesses had birds help her get dressed, which I think was
which
all
brings the idea that maybe what do you call the fairy godmother was Coriathan? I'm just going to put that out
there. I like how you think.
Oh dear. Yeah, but Alara's on the out. You know, apart from she's in with your new favorite character,
Yes, yes, she
but
is.
she has been shunned by good old Arthur.
Poor Ilera.
Yeah.
All she did was love the guy.
Always
But
a good idea.
I was gonna say that this feels like a thesis is about to be about to be extolled to everybody else. All she did was love the guy. This reminds me.
Oh, but let's since we're talking about them and people who have feelings towards Earthen, uh, look at our dear friend Lorinda.
Dear friend, indeed.
Dear
Yeah.
friend.
And how the new levels to which her spite towards Earthen has taken to her. You catch the bit where she ruminates on the quartz that she's wearing and what memory she's stored in it.
Yes.
So that she could just warm her heart by looking at it whenever she wants.
I was so hopeful that Lorenda would grow up or grow as a person, if nothing else, and kind of realize, I might have been at fault here ever so slightly, and my incarceration has taught me that I played a part in that. But no, we get none of that. She is just a monster.
What was in the one section that she was in, though? In her monstrous way, she was doing some research on their inheritance, on the Coriathane inheritance, and she mentioned stuff like the original founders and how they enshrined historic knowledge intact, and that the sweeping range of mankind's accomplishments begged the primitive industry permitted under the Sorcerer's Compact. And so they have the level of frustration on the Coriathane part is the fact that they can't advance humanity at all. And so I could see how that could stew up and be a point of contention and bitterness over millennia. Because people have been known to fly off the handle for far less. And so, and this is more towards, I mean, Lorenda's just finding this out now, but so this is more towards Moriel's and Celdy's part as far as how embittered she became over the thousands of years that they're not able to advance their agenda because of the Fellowship's compact.
yeah,
It was
I
interesting to see Lorinda discover that stuff.
yeah, I love the moment of insecurity and I wouldn't say vulnerability, but I guess how she felt overwhelmed by what she had to protect and what Muriel was protecting. I thought that was really nicely done. Um, but here's the thing, though. She was she saw all of that, and she didn't think of humanity's past glory. She wanted to restore Coriathane's past glory, which is a completely different and far more selfish prospect. Like it's a grab for power. And I'm curious about whether that's how Muriel thought too, if she wanted to go back to similar to restore humanity, or restore humanity so Coriathane could regain their place in all of this, right? Because she focused on, sure, the tall buildings, but the fact that Coriathane were wearing crowns and they were the queens among these people, and so on and so forth. But on that note, I had another question to for Chibibo, if you're able to answer this right now. Why? I don't think we know. So Athera is the special planet, right? But it connects to 4 others where humanity could potentially have been sent to without needing to build spaceships again. So why didn't they do that. Like, we found the mystery thing happened as a consequence of something they did later, but that's mostly because they sent the most dissentful people there who were most inclined to build the technology. Um, could could they have like blocked off one of the gates completely and sent people there?
Possibly. I don't know exactly when the gates were all established. But as far as for humanity, when they arrived, from my understanding, from what Jenny said, and what we've gleaned when Aerithans talked to Davian, and about when they arrived and all, their vessel and such was basically at the point of this was it. They it was they'd been traveling for a long time, and it was pretty much at its last legs. Because I know one of the point of contention was, Davian was like, yeah, no, we should just fix their ship and let them go on their way.
Oh, right. Yeah. The original disagreement. Yeah.
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 And Kaladas argued against it because I remember Aerithon and Davian, I think, in Trader's Knot talk about it. And Aerithon quotes Kaladas' arguments at him. So I think they could have, but I don't know why they didn't. I think that alludes to what she's mentioned, that all the splinter worlds have specific purposes. So they probably only like I said, sent the one dudes through Southgate because they didn't want to have to wipe them out, slaughter them. And that was the best compromise they had. Regarding your question about Moriel, I'll just refer back to Fugitive Prince when she lashes out at Sethvir about that, and she's going on about how the Coriathane sat at the right hand of the seats of governance before Callum Kincaid unleashed his weapon. So yeah, she probably more was to some degree restoring the Coriathane to that level of influence, whereas here they didn't even get a seat at the table in determining the terms of the compact.
Yeah, they're at the kitty table.
Told, yeah, all your information is banned.
I like that.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm kind of wondering if the because Vashi, you asked why can't they just seal off the world, but would sealing it off mean they also can't keep an eye on them? So I'm just kind of wondering about that myself. But
yeah, they could build spaceships and then come back to Athera and then cause more destruction,
cause more trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, maybe this was the best solution to keeping them there and not having them cause damage. Because if they seal them off, they could figure out a way to reopen it. I guess they hadn't quite sealed off Southgate. They just had posted some sort of guardians over it, right? But then the mistake happened anyway. So
yeah.
So
at the beginning of chapter 2, I found it interesting that we're watching Lysaea slowly recover.
Yeah.
Because we already heard about Arathon recovering, and then we switch into Lysaea, whose recovery is slower, but not as slow as he's pretending it to be, which I really thought was interesting. That Dace and him are putting on this little show of helplessness. And I'm wondering, we didn't get much, it was only a small section, but I'm just wondering what that is going to lead to.
It's interesting though, because we've seen at the end of the last book that his position within the world has been very much compromised. The thru sect had sort of use the Lance of Light to come to power, but also then got rid of him because, well, for reasons. And if he's going to do something in the next while, both Ace and himself know that things have to be done slightly differently. Like, we got that feeling at the end of the last book that Lysair was hell bent on changing things, and doing things very differently. But obviously, he's a smart person, is Mr. Lysair, and very capable. Although it was floated also within that section that the curse hasn't gone away. That was one of the kind of questions that we had. He's still under the whim of the curse, so it is something that definitely needs to be watched. So yeah,
absolutely.
So to the burning question at the end of the last book, we got an answer to, right?
we did,
curse
yeah,
is back.
yeah.
The curse
is diminished at the moment, but it has the opportunity to return.
Yeah. Oh, and sorry, somewhat related, but I didn't catch at the end of the last book that the thing that happened at Aether, was that the name of the hostel with the, I forget the name of Vivet's people, but anyway, the
At Attenmere, yeah,
at Attenmere, all the unbindings that happened also included the oath he swore to stay alive at all cost. So now he can play fast and loose with his own life to achieve his ends. Although this was the end that the Fellowship wanted him to achieve, because of which they made him swear the oath. So I guess no loss for them.
Yeah, so everybody's mad at him.
Yep.
Yeah,
Everybody's
he's mad at
frustrated.
everybody also, maybe.
He's mad at everybody. He's determined. It was reiterated a few times from Davian and the biter crone, that Arathon is the master of his own destiny, and so it really is coming to a head that he is the linchpin, and it's all really going to come down to what his actions are. At least it seems that way at this point. And he's like casting some kind of mighty spell here at the end, right?
Yes.
Do you think he's summoning centaurs?
Well, the centaurs did appear. I mean, it was not sort of inferred that they stood 2 times taller than a man.
Did they actually come, or did they just kind of
do the image?
The ghostly image thing.
Ghostly image thing, probably, because they're obviously not there. But it was going to cause loss of life, massive loss of life. In fact, is one of the things that they sort of talked about. By the end of chapter 3, because Davian sort of was making the point: do you think you're going to mitigate some of the disaster that's about to occur? I got bad news for you. He was only really there to protect her at the end, which which again worth saying. Janny does it again. New character introduced, one of your favorite characters within about 20 pages. It's just she Lorien, isn't that her name? She is the one person that is going to speak truth to power. As you sort of alluded to, Jared, the fact that Davian, Sethvir, Ascendir, everybody's sort of tiptoeing around Arathon. Tarans, don't be inflaming him, although Tarathon just socks him one. At some point. But the people that don't know him well enough or know him just through reputation with a clan like Lorien are very, very apt to challenge him and actually say your reasons and your things for doing this don't hold any water, I'm afraid.
You're talking about Lathan? Is that who you're talking about?
Lathan. She's very much about challenging him on his crap. And to be honest, Arathon doesn't have much of a comeback for her, other than just, you come with me and you'll see. At which point Davin has to protect her.
Yeah, Davian's got to protect her. He's like, your moment to meddle is already forfeit. We
Yeah.
gotta clear the way here.
Yeah.
Well, it does have his moment where we saw Erethan being a bastard and pushing people away and making
Oh yeah,
mean remarks at her about miscarriages and things. It's like,
yeah,
wow, dude.
yeah. No, he wasn't very nice.
No.
And to be honest with you, if I spent 200 years in a prison killing race or whatever, I'd be pretty cantankerous myself.
Well, it did sort of raise the point for me, and it was sort of talked about a little within the pages as well about how from Esfand and Kedrin and all those ones, that realistically his compassion that has caused him to act out this way, having watched the murder of the vet and the boy, the way that he is sort of apt to his emotions and sort of stable his emotions, does not bode well for him being a king of a region. The fact that he is that way, as much as Arthur's such a good person that we all sort of root for, and he's so many good bits, he's yet a slave to this compassionate side to him that he can't help himself but react in this way, and sort of sometimes have the reader questioning his motives and whether he's doing the right thing, the better good.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. Can kings rule through compassion? Is that a question? Is that possible? Do you have to take out compassion in order to be a good ruler, or what kind of balance do you have to strike there?
Yeah, and actually on that point, because it's a really good one, Jared, can you be a good king and a good person? Absolutely.
Yeah, pretty much the same kind of question. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. So which because I don't think there's many readers that are going to read this and go, Arthur's not a good person, because he is somebody that I think we would all aspire to be in a lot of ways, but it also has a cost for him and a personal cost, especially for the responsibility he has.
I mean, the thing is, in the moment, he can be a real ass, but
Also, keep in mind too, as I mentioned earlier, kings here aren't like medieval kings.
yeah, they're not like the kings
so-
that we read about in history.
So,
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. No, I can't wait to get to.
but I did like that Lathan Sadir comes with him and then he's just like, yeah, there's a whole army out here, getting ready to winding up to attack, and she's all concerned about that, and then he starts braiding grass circles. And she's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's funny.
Some magic. There's some magic going on here.
Yeah.
So, Jalian, Cossack's wife, is that her name?
Yes.
She says something, like when the rose blooms black in bitterness or something, and I think it was in the vein of she was retaliating to Arathon, saying he'll restore Ithamon or something, right? And put the names of the fallen on the keystone arch. But what was I saying? Yeah, she says it in the vein of that'll happen when pigs fly or something. I think, right? Because the Black Rose prophecy, I imagine, is not widely
Oh, yes,
known.
of course. Yeah.
But she says that, and I wonder if Arathon will sort of make that happen when he rebuilds Ithamon and puts the names on it to make what she says come true. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting reference to black roses, given what we know rests on roses blooming black.
Yeah.
Nice. Excellent symbolism. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really good. Yeah, loads of interesting, like, I sort of had it in my head that this book would kind of go straight for it. If you know what I mean, we'd sort of been at, but obviously I've learned nothing over the past 10 books. We have a period of both resetting the scene, introducing main play characters, kind of this bit where sort of people are feeling out for each other and doing it very much like the last arc as well. so that we get all of that paid off on the latter part of it. I thought this was going to be all action, all guns blazing, 800 pages, and to be honest, that probably would have been a bad idea, as we discovered
know.
discovered from some of our previous reads recently. So yes, I trust the process as it goes. Hasn't let us down yet.
Yeah, it's amazing that you can say that after reading this amazing dragon duel.
Yeah, well, it's not to say that things don't happen, but I think a lot of the introspection and the rebuilding of relationships here, because obviously Tarns and Arthur have spent 2 weeks together and sort of know each other well. But even then, there's like a redrawn and a restatement of their relationship, ending with Tarns losing the rag with Arthur and punching him one round the face. At which point you're like, yes, but also then reminded in the next page that somebody says to him, like, do you really think you could have landed a punch in Arthur without him knowing? He obviously wanted you to do that. Like, that's obviously what he want. You fall. And I was like, God damn it.
Doesn't that just take the wind out of your sails? Like, it's like, oh yeah, that's right.
He sees like I landed a good right hook there. It's
like,
remember that.
Get him.
Yes.
And then you're like, oh,
God,
yeah.
I showed him.
Let him do it. Yeah, that makes
He
sense.
let him do it. Of course,
He let you beat him.
I love that, but that bit was very apt and very good, because it was that kind of thing. Because you've read 100 pages of Arthur being a bit of a jerk to everybody, pushing everybody away as he often does, to the point that somebody snaps when everybody else is worried about him snapping and breaking, and it's just because his compassion lets him take a beating and take the pain and suffering of other people onto himself, and reminding you that's who he is as a person. But that you don't get that release. You were sort of pointing at the charge, you don't get the kind of smack him.
Yeah.
It is different. The final book, for all that it's doing sort of a reset and just ever so slightly slowing down after the action of the last book, it is also different in the sense that I think this might be the first time we know what the end game is. Or she could do a Curse of the Mistwraith and do the Paravian coming back at the middle of the book and then move on to other things after that. But yeah, like I think this is similar to the first book in that we kind of had a goal for the end of the book, right? Like the half brothers will clear out the Mistwraith, or maybe I thought that was an end of the series goal when I started the book. But we have something to look forward to, and that's really keeping me turning the page, even though we have theoretically started a bit slower. It's like, oh, he wants to bring the Paravians back. Oh, he's going to do all these things. Let's see. All right, he's already headed to Mathon, and yeah, let's see what has happened. Sorry, Chris, what were you saying?
No, I was just kind of agreeing with you, nodding along and agreeing with you. Yeah. Didn't want to break your flow there, Harsh, because absolutely you're making a very good point here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. On book already.
Yes. Yeah, very bittersweet to be finishing this.
Yeah. The one structural thing that I'll say feels a bit different is that previous books have had this feeling of like we're going to concentrate on 2 or 3 main areas, of kite relationships.
Yeah.
Whereas this one already has kind of, it's like the chessboard now. Kind of all of the pieces are on the board. Or a lot of the pieces are on the board, maybe not all, because I'm not naive enough to think that's the case. But we've already had the Beat Arclone, we've had the Coriathian, we've had Lysair and Dace, we've had Artham, we've got the clans involved here, we've got a bit of the True Sect, etc. They're all sort of in and around the dragons, of course, and the Fellowship and all that kind of stuff. So they're all motivations are sort of out there, and they do sort of conflict. We get the statement here to say that they are all in conflict with each other to a certain point, like from an idealism point of view. And it kind of means that every chapter that we get to now is going to be, 15 chapters to go now. How do we unknot this a little bit as we go along?
Yeah. Something's
Hits
got to
the
give.
ground running and doesn't stop.
Yeah.
It's all tangled together like that snake over there. Is
Yeah.
that one of the dragons, do you think? What
It looks
what
like a
is-
snake rather than a dragon.
Yeah, but the dragon was described. Well, okay, I guess all the dragons we've seen so far have wings, so this one
We
doesn't.
haven't seen or heard from the meth snakes in 10 books.
Ooh, and Ilera has been given a book to read about methyl.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Like she got our favorite thing, a new book to read.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in typical style, Allura has loads of books to read already, but she's
Yeah.
got this new book and she wants to read the new book.
She wants to read the
Her
new
TBR is
Episode
through the
was
roof. Yeah.
Oh, and while we are at Altain Tower, Satvir is writing a lovely letter to the bats to tell them to please, pretty please, don't roost in our tower. Here are all other places you can go to instead, and here's why. I love that. Oh man.
One of my other favorite things actually to talk about, because we didn't talk a great deal about Esfand and Cadrian and all those kind of ones. There has been a lot of discussion about clan lore and things that happened way before their time. I think throughout this, a lot of reference to Jarrett, even though Jarrett's sort of there, but how things were in Jarrett's time, how people were and the relationships with Arathon around that time, Sadir, how his relationship with Arathon and all that kind of changed. So that's sort of all been brought back as well. And rather than kind of being way forward in time and all these young kids, I'm still in my head, they're all young kids still. How they're sort of treating Arathon and all the rest of it. Clan lore and clan kind of life gets passed from generation to generation, and it kind of life and clan life is sort of bleeded one into the other one, so that legend and lore never dies.
Yeah.
And that's reiterated with what's her name again? Your new favorite character, Chris.
Lothian.
Lethin, yeah.
Lethin, yeah.
That was kind of reiterated when Davian's telling her that he's like, I'm not worried about your silly Sunwheel people. I'm worried about dragons, right? And and she tells him, well, forgive the rest of us for the foible of our mortality. She's like, so that whole clan perspective it's like, yeah, we got more immediate things than these things that we can't do anything about. We can't do anything about dragons and fighting each other and guarding gates and what have you. And so that difference in perspective was appreciated there.
Excellent.
Yep. Lots of good stuff. Lots to look forward to. I think, unless there was something in the last two sections that I haven't yet gone to that we've not talked about yet. I think we've largely covered everything from these chapters.
Yeah, I think we suitably spoiled the last section for you, Vasha.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I like a good spoiler.
Yep.
Yes. I like how Chibipa put it about like the braiding the grass. So fun. I'll enjoy it more when I read it.
Yeah, we get lots of Paravian too.
Yes.
And it's translated for us. Some of it anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Cool. All right. Then we will see everybody back in 2 weeks with the next 3 chapters of this book. We are marching on towards the end of the series. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.